Before I get into my presentation, I want to do a quick survey. How many guys in here are doing buy here, pay here? All right. How many of you guys are doing retail? And how many dealers have been in business less than 12 months? Got it. If you hear something in my presentation and you like it and you want to share it on social, be sure to use hashtag Selly GIADA. But let me address the elephant in the room. A lot of you are wondering, who's this kid on stage? What's his expertise in the automotive industry? He looks like he's my son's age. I started out in the car business when I was 19 years old here in Georgia, and that's where I discovered the opportunity that led to my company, Selly Automotive. I've also established myself as a thought leader in the industry. I go across the US at different IADA shows giving this presentation. One of my favorite shows on television right now is Marcus Lemonis's The Prophet. And on The Prophet, Marcus preaches what he calls the 3 Ps. That's people, process, and product. And I think that relates to what a lot of you guys do at your dealership. Think about it. People, that's your sales team, F&I. Product, that's your inventory. And then there's the process. And the process is what every single vendor and every single speaker at GIADA is trying to help your dealership improve upon. So whether you're a general manager, sales manager, I want you to walk away from my presentation with 1 or 2 things that you could actually implement into your dealership strategy. Today I'm going to talk about online car buying, digital retail. I'm going to talk about millennials. I'm going to talk about why your dealership needs a CRM and tweaks to optimize your store. And I have 80 slides, so forgive me if I go a little fast. Back in 2013, Time magazine hailed the millennial demographic as the me generation. They're narcissistic, they live at home with their parents, and they can't find jobs. Well, I think that perception of the millennial audience has dramatically changed since then. And for those of you wondering what exactly is a millennial, it's an individual who was born between 1980 and 2000. There are over 80 million of them in the United States, and they have discretionary income of over $400 billion. In fact, they've already surpassed Gen X, the previous generation, in vehicle purchases, and they're closely approaching the baby boomer audience. And then there's Generation Z. So if you have trouble with millennials, wait till you see Gen Z. And the great thing about Gen Z, 92% of them own or plan to own a vehicle. And we all know that OEMs, they realize the opportunity with millennials. Look at Fiat. That whole brand is geared towards the millennial generation. Everything from the style and the marketing of that car is all geared towards millennials. And then the OEMs, they have what they call approachable luxury. So that's like the Audi A3 or the Mercedes CLA, all geared towards millennials. But again, one of the most unique things about millennials is they have more options to leverage transportation than any other generation you've dealt with before. And there's been a lot of talk about automotive e-commerce, buying a car exclusively 100% online. Well, I'm here to tell you today that your dealership is not going to be replaced by a website where someone could purchase a car on. Think about it. If I'm looking at a Toyota Highlander, I'm looking at a 4-cylinder, a V6, and a hybrid. Can I know that from a vehicle display page? I need to come into the dealership, test drive it, and see what the difference in drive is. But these automotive e-commerce companies are companies that you need to be aware of because they'll be your competition. These companies collectively have raised over $750 million in venture capital. And one of them, BP, with that red X, recently went under. They raised over $150 million, had to let go of 180 employees because they weren't watching their margins and they weren't building a business that's scalable. And the reason why I mentioned BP is over the next couple of years, you're going to see a lot of new business models in the automotive industry, and not all of them are going to work out and be successful. But some of them are getting traction. Vroom, they hit $1 billion in sales in 2016. Carvana, they had their IPO this year, $600 million floor plan from Ally Financial. And there's been a lot of other recent headlines in the industry as well. Luxury subscription services are becoming popular. Clutch, they're based out of Atlanta. They allow you to have a month-to-month commitment on a used car and flip it when you want to. Morgan Stanley, they think the used car market will crater by 2021, and used car prices could drop as much as 50%. Fiat, Fiat is partnered with Amazon, and they're selling cars online in Europe. With Uber, regardless of your credit, for $250 down, if you make a couple trips a month, you could actually lease a car with unlimited mileage, and that's competition for lease your pay your dealerships. So what's the key point from all this disruption? The auto industry is hot with investment, and millennials, they're at the forefront of a lot of this. Here's an interesting study that Forbes did on millennials in the workplace. 88% of millennials want a collaborative work culture rather than a competitive one. 74% want flexible work schedules, and 88% want work-life integration. And my question to you is this how you describe life at your dealership? So how do you capture Gen Y, Gen Z consumers? How do you win them over? How do you bring them into your dealership? That's through all things digital and social. Let's talk about your dealership's online presence. Deloitte did a study, and your average consumer is doing 10 hours of shopping and research online before they set foot in your dealership. And your website is becoming your dealership's digital showroom. And millennials, they're constantly on social media, spending nearly 4 hours a day, and they're the ones who are going to share their experience at your dealership on social, whether it's good or bad. Another interesting statistic, 43% of car buyers said they'd use Facebook to search for a local dealership. So let's move on to millennials, social media, and your dealership. Here's an interesting graph, and it shows social media usage by different generations. And one thing that's really obvious is that Facebook has the biggest share of millennials, Gen Xers, and baby boomers. And that's why I want to show you some common mistakes that I see on Facebook as well as Twitter pages. Number one is I see fake likes. The problem is if you have fake likes on your Facebook page, you can't use that data on your Facebook page to retarget and send ads because those are fake likes. Generic content. You know, when a consumer comes to your Facebook page, they want to see something engaging. Having no reviews, be sure to have reviews on your page and update it on a regular basis. Now, let's move on to social media marketing. Like I said, Facebook has the biggest usage of Gen Xers, millennials, and baby boomers, and it's a great way to advertise. And when you do Facebook advertising, you could also advertise on Instagram. And then there's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is literally the most underutilized social network in automotive. It's focused on business, and I would suggest everyone create a profile, have your sales team create a profile, and you could keep in contact with your clients. For instance, if you sell someone a vehicle, see a year down the line they get a new job, maybe they go from director of sales to VP of sales, that's a great reason to reach out to them, re-engage them, and it's time for an upgrade on their vehicle. And then there's YouTube. How many of you guys have seen an ad before you watch your YouTube videos? Good amount of you. Imagine if I'm a customer, I'm going on YouTube searching for a 2010 Ford Mustang review, and when I'm watching that review, I see an advertisement from your dealership. All of this is possible, and it's as low as 5 cents a click, so I'd suggest also looking into in-stream ads. Now, I'm going to go through some of the other social media networks that millennials use and give you a high-level overview. So there's Snapchat. This is used by a lot of OEMs for product releases, for instance. It allows you to send a message that's a video, a chat, or a photo that disappears after a set amount of time. And then there's Instagram. A lot of highline dealerships, independents, are starting to leverage this to showcase inventory. And you could also use Facebook advertising in conjunction with Instagram. And then there's Pinterest. Pinterest allows you to share photos or pins, and they also have an advertising network. But what's noteworthy about Pinterest is that 42% of online women use Pinterest, and we all know that women play a huge role in automotive purchases. Let's talk about your dealership staff page and building your staff's brand. Oftentimes when I go to a dealer website and click on the staff page, it's blank. What's the problem with this? Let's say I have a bilingual sales rep. I'm a customer, I'm looking for a Spanish-speaking sales rep. I go to your staff page and I don't see anything. Well, that doesn't give me the confidence to come in, like if you had a staff page that was more filled out and note whether your salespeople are bilingual. And you also have to think about differentiating your store. It's a really competitive marketplace. What's different about your dealership than your competition? Remember, having a sleek, responsive dealer website, this is your digital showroom. Maybe you have a unique value proposition. Maybe it's a return policy or, for instance, out-of-state buyers program, something different. And let's move on to mobile. So it's 2017, mobile's king. 2/3 of Americans own a smartphone. And millennials, they love texting on their smartphone. 98% of text messages are read versus just 22% of emails. And I'm even guilty of this myself. 80% of millennials sleep with their smartphones. But if you're going to text millennials, be sure you're compliant about it. Look up the TCPA texting guidelines because fines can range from $500 to $1,500 per text message. Now, let's move on to CRM, and I'm going to talk about getting the buy-in from both the management and the sales team. So the 3 biggest myths I hear about CRM: I have a DMS, it does the same thing. My dealership's too small to have a CRM, and I don't need internet lead management. All my leads go to my email inbox. For a lot of independent dealerships, their biggest marketing spin is with internet lead providers. And there could be misconceptions. I'll give you an example. You might be getting a lot of leads from car gurus, but in reality, TrueCar leads might be performing better. But if you don't have a CRM or a way of measuring your return on investment, it's very difficult to tell. So let's talk about the buy-in. Management, they need to have transparency into their sales team's follow-up. They want to set a work plan, like a follow-up system for their dealership. See what leads are performing the best. And also, what if you fire a salesperson, you don't have a CRM, and they walk away with all your data? Now, from the salesperson's perspective, why does a salesperson want to use the CRM? Where's the buy-in? Well, they could automate data entry, driver's license VIN scanner. They could be that 24/7 salesperson, and they have the ability to remind themselves of appointments or follow-ups. And if you're going to have a CRM, make sure you have a mobile CRM. This could increase fresh ups entered into your CRM 25 to 35%. And I've created a mobile CRM checklist as well. Here's some key things that you want to look for when you're shopping for a CRM. Driver's license and VIN scanner. Offline functionality. We all know some areas of the lot might not have the best reception. That's why you should look at a mobile CRM. You want to incorporate a lot of the functionalities of your web version, and you want a native app. You don't want just a website that you use on your mobile app, also referred to as a responsive web app. Let's move on to mobile advertising. I've talked about how 2/3 of Americans own a smartphone. What about advertising? So 63% of consumers are showrooming your dealership when they're sitting at your desk. They're looking at the competition's other inventory, different colors, different makes and models. How do you counter this? One way to do it is through geofencing and geoconquesting. This could increase foot traffic at your dealership 2 to 3x. So what is geofencing? Sounds like a complicated word. This is when you set a specific geographic area around your dealership where you have targeted advertising. So people, let's say, using an iPhone in my area, they might see a targeted ad where we're giving away an iTunes gift card if you come in for a test drive. But let's take it a step further with geoconquesting. So instead of specifically targeting our lot, let's target the competition. So when the competition, a consumer there is showrooming that dealership, they could see your ad, and that could bring them to your lot from the competitor's store. But if you're going to leverage geoconquesting, geofencing, make sure you have registered showroom visits. Track the customers from ad views to dealer visits. And once they go outside that specific geographic area, you want to target them through mobile behavioral targeting. Maybe it's specific likes or interest or restaurant locations. Now, for the last part of my presentation, I'm going to talk about 10 tweaks, changes to optimize your store. So typically, when I talk to a dealer principal, sales manager at an independent or a buy here, pay here store, I ask them these 3 questions, and oftentimes they get stumped. Number 1, how do you track your return on investment from your internet leads? And which of your internet lead providers have the highest close rate? Number 2, if one of your salespeople was fired tomorrow and they left with all of the prospect data, all of the text messages that they've exchanged with your customers, how would you recover that data? And the last point, what is the set follow-up system, feedback system, and dispute management system that your dealership runs or has in place? Number 1, central nervous of a dealership is a DMS. Make sure you have a rock-solid DMS system. Number 2, mobile CRM, internet lead management. Again, you want to track your return on investment from your marketing spend, and having a CRM could help you do so. A responsive or adaptive dealer website. Again, your dealer website is becoming your digital showroom, and it's a lot cheaper than your lease on your lot or the property you have your physical dealership. Social media presence. Again, build your Facebook page. Have reviews on your Facebook page, because when people Google, those Facebook reviews show up for your dealership. Have a digital marketing program, whether it's geofencing, geoconquesting, behavioral targeting. Make sure you have that in place. Email at your own domain. I can't tell you how many times I've seen dealers who still have their email at AOL, at Gmail, at Yahoo. Have it at your domain, and it adds that extra sense of professionalism. Reputation management software. When a customer buys a car from your store, are they sent a survey? How do you manage disputes? Compliant text messaging. Again, if you're going to text someone, make sure that you're compliant. Being data-driven. Again, dealers have more competition now than ever before. They need to be mindful of their customer acquisition costs, their internet lead spend. There are a lot of data-driven dealers who are doing well, and if you're not data-driven, it makes it a lot more difficult to operate in this day and age. Bring millennials into the store. The best way to interface with millennial consumers is having millennials at your store. So key objectives from today, I've talked about online car buying and digital retail. I've talked about millennials, why your dealership needs a CRM, how to get the buy-in from management and sales team on the CRM, and optimizations for your dealership. I've done 80 slides, 20 minutes. We have 17 seconds left. If you guys have any questions for me, please come to our booth, Selly Automotive. Thank you.